After the age of 50, testosterone levels naturally decline. However, it is possible to avoid a significant drop in testosterone levels and thus andropause. In this video, I'll give you some practical advice to help you do just that. The last one comes from a series of studies, and it's advice you very rarely hear, but which is great fun to put into practice. Hello everyone, and welcome to this new video on AI Health Talk 360, your health channel covering all things health. Today I'm going to give you tips on how to maintain optimal testosterone levels after the age of 50. But these tips are also aimed at people under 50, as young as 40. Listen carefully to these tips, because the earlier you start, the better you'll preserve your natural testosterone secretions. Before you start, a few of the usual reminders. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a blue thumb if you like the content, and comment to keep this channel alive. And above all, don't forget that if you have health problems, especially sexual ones, you shouldn't go it alone. Go and see a specialist who can help you solve them. Let's take a look at the 8 tips I'm going to give you today. Tip 1. Sport, and sport. I insist on this because it's probably one of the most important pieces of advice, which is why I'm starting with it. Studies show that physical activity, especially weight training, is essential for maintaining good testosterone levels. It helps avoid andropause, so endurance is important, especially as it's what's useful for losing weight. We'll talk more about this in the sequel, at belly level. But keep doing physical activity with muscle resistance, the kind you want. It's important to work your muscles, especially after 50, as we naturally lose muscle mass. I'll be talking about this topic in other videos on testosterone. Above all, don't worry, we're here to help you understand how certain symptoms and diseases can cause testosterone deficiency. Now let's look at the second tip, which concerns the diet. When it comes to diet, I'd advise you to remember 3 things. Firstly, don't reduce your protein intake. Indeed, to maintain good muscle mass, it's essential to maintain sufficient protein intake, as muscles are involved in hormone production and optimal testosterone utilization. It is therefore important to maintain a good protein intake, even as we age. On the other hand, it's not uncommon to crave less red meat. This is not a problem and is even advisable. However, you can continue to eat white meat such as chicken, poultry, eggs, and so on. The important thing to remember is not to reduce your protein intake. To find out more, I've put together a video on secret protein foods. You can watch it just to the right of your screen. You can also find it in the description. Second food tip. To maintain optimal testosterone levels after 50, it's essential to vary your fruits and vegetables. This allows you to get the most trace elements naturally, that is everything from magnesium, zinc, and selenium. Varying your diet as much as possible with this kind of intake also helps maintain a good hormonal balance. The third food tip, one of the most common and well-known, is to eat a diet enriched with omega-3 and zinc. In concrete terms, this means eating shrimps, oysters, avocados, salmon, but also sardines, which are not only very rich in protein and omega-3, but also very economical. Fourth tip, waist circumference, the accumulation of belly fat. Waist circumference is an extremely important thing to watch after age 50. I'd even go so far as to say it's more important than weight. In fact, it's the accumulation of belly fat that is deleterious to testosterone levels, because abdominal fat destroys testosterone and transforms it into estrogen, that is the female hormone. For this reason, abdominal fat is a major obstacle to achieving optimal testosterone levels. If you'd like to know more about losing belly fat, I'll be making videos on the subject to help you understand. You should also know that obesity is linked to an accumulation of visceral fat in the abdomen, which has harmful effects on hormonal functioning. So understand the link between obesity, increased belly size, and lower testosterone. The fifth tip is one of the most overlooked: sleep. It's during the deep sleep phases that the hormonal and neurotransmitter regulation system comes into play. In other words, all the regulation necessary for quality sleep. 2 simple tips on this subject. Firstly, try to wake up every day at the same time, or at least around the same time. This will help you regulate your sleep, whatever the period, vacations, work days, or weekends. Secondly, learn to recognize the signs of fatigue. If you're tired in the evening, it doesn't necessarily mean you need to go to bed. On the other hand, if you show signs of drowsiness, such as yawning, shivering, or heavy eyelids, it's time to go to bed even if it's not the time you'd planned. I'll be preparing a video on insomnia for you. If you wish, please let me know in the comments. Practicing these techniques is very useful for improving and stabilizing your sleep, regulating your hormone levels, and preventing andropause. Tip 6. Brightness. I know a lot of people immediately think of vitamin D. In reality, testosterone production is not only preserved by vitamin D, it's also preserved by the impact of dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin secretions. It's also preserved by the impact of dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin secretions, which are linked to our general mental state. These secretions can also preserve testosterone production. Brightness plays a positive role, especially for people sensitive to seasonal changes, known as seasonal affective disorder. These people experience a drop in their general state of well-being as soon as autumn and winter arrive. Exposure to morning light and light therapy can help. Tip number 7. Avoid toxic environmental substances that block testosterone receptors and endocrine disruptors. These are substances that give our pituitary gland the information that there's testosterone when there isn't any. How can we avoid these toxic endocrine disruptors? First of all, avoid industrial foods as much as possible. The more processed a food is, the more chemicals it contains that can influence our hormonal functioning. Secondly, avoid heating food in plastic containers in the microwave. Third, air your home as often as possible, even in winter, by opening windows and doors for 5 to 10 minutes, especially after using household products such as aerosols. This eliminates chemical substances. If you have the opportunity to go for a walk in the forest or by the sea, it's super interesting because you get away from everything toxic in the city, as well as pesticides for those who live near agricultural fields. 8th and final tip, listen to the music you love. Did you know that studies have shown the link between listening to the music you love and testosterone levels? The link is a positive one, as it helps to secrete oxytocin, cortisone, and other substances. Mind you, it's not just a question of listening to music, but of listening to it, enjoying it, appreciating it, and having a good time listening to a nice piece. These are all things that can help prevent hormonal aging, and in my opinion, mental aging too. I hope you've enjoyed this video and learned a few things. Please let us know what you think in the comments, especially on certain points you'd like us to expand on. This would enable us to learn about your problems and solve them with enriching videos. Thank you for listening all the way. I'm preparing more videos on other subjects. Take good care of yourself and your loved ones, and see you soon.